In this video, we'll talk about getObjectInfo wire adapter, and this adapter we import from UIObjectInfo API module. So let's see when we use this adapter. We use this adapter whenever we want to fetch the metadata about a specific object, and this adapter response include metadata that tells us about the object's field, child relationships, record type, themes, and many more. So the syntax is almost same that we have seen in the wire service syntax. So first we have to import the wire, then we have to import the adapter. In this case, the getObjectInfo is our adapter name, and we are importing that adapter from UIObjectInfo API module. Then we'll pass that adapter name to a wire service. As wire service expects some wire configuration as well, like adapter configuration. And here we have to pass the object API name that tells this adapter for which object you have to fetch the metadata. And here we are passing the account object, and to pass that we have to import that reference of the account object. And once the data comes, you can cache the data either in the property or a function. So let's back to our editor, and let's create a new component called getObjectInfo demo. So now our component is ready. We'll follow the same steps that we know. We need a wire service. We'll call the wire service here. Wire service need an adapter, so we import the adapter, and we are learning the adapter getObjectInfo. So we'll import that getObjectInfo from module called lightning/UIObjectInfo API. Once the adapter is available, we'll pass that adapter to a wire service. This adapter need some adapter configuration, and that configuration is the object API name that tells this adapter for which object you have to bring the metadata. So we'll pass the account object, and for this we have to bring the reference of the account object, and we can bring the reference using Salesforce schema module. Schema/account, we can say. So this is our account. We get the reference, we are passing the reference, and to hold the data we either to use a wire as a property or a function. And the easiest way, I told you in the debugging or to visualize the data, always first write the wire as a function. So we'll write object info is my function name. That function either will receive data or the error, and will print if data is there, print the data. If error is there, print the error. And let's add the configuration as well. So we'll change this is exposed to true. We'll add the targets, and we'll change it to app page. Right now we are testing against app page. We have the code. Right now we don't have anything in HTML. Let's quickly add the card here. So I'll create a card, lightning card, title get record info adapter, and we will add some padding around the card, and let's deploy this. Component is deployed. Let's place the component to our page. Wire services, it page. Let's search for our component name getObjectInfo demo. Let's place it to the second column. Let's save this. Let's go back. card is visible on the page. Let's go to the console, and now it's printing one object here. And now you can see it's giving us the whole metadata. What's the API name, what's the child relationship, what's the default record type, what are all the fields this object has. Apart from that, record type infos, theme info, what's the color of the theme, what's the icon URL, and everything you can get in with this single adapter, that is get object info adapter. So for right now, we can just print the default record type ID on the screen. So let's go back and say default record type ID, and we'll say this dot record ID equal to data dot default record type ID, and let's initialize this property on the top. Initially it will be undefined because we are not initializing this, and once the data comes from the data, will fetch the default record type ID and map to the property that we have created, and that ID will show on the screen. So let's deploy this and see if we able to see the default record type ID. And most of the time we use this adapter to fetch the default record type ID because we need this ID to fetch the pick list values. So now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page, and now you can see that the ID is printing. And now we can, if we want, we can remove this everything and we can directly use the wire as a property. I'll remove this and we'll say object info dot data dot default record type ID. So it will print the record type ID, and we can say like this, and we'll put this in the div. That's a better thing, and we'll copy once again and paste it below, and we'll say object API name, and here we can say API name. So now we convert our wire as a function to a property because we already tested it was printing in the console, the data is coming and it's fetching the data correctly. So we just change this card to a property now instead of functions. So let's deploy and test whether the API name and the default record type ID is printing on the screen or not. So it's deployed now. Let's go back and refresh the page, and it throws an error, and that's a good error because this is a asynchronous approach, right? It will go and fetch the data, and before fetching, this HTML start rendering, and that time default record type ID is not available. So what we can do is we'll grab this in the template if true directive, and we'll say if object info dot data is available, then only load the template inside this. We'll just move this and let's deploy this. These are the errors that you will face in real time, and these are the solution that you're gonna use. So now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page again, and now you can see that default record type ID is coming correctly and the object API name is account. So just a quick recap, like get object info we only use to fetch the object's metadata, and we're gonna use this adapter heavily for the pick list where we need to have the get default record type ID. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.